Hello and welcome to the RWBY podcast. We are talking about Volume 6, Episode 1. It is good to be back. I am the last gunslinger, Mediocrity 4.
It's good to be back, and we're not sponsored by Still or DX Racers Chairs, unfortunately. But it is sure glad to be back on this wild ride of RWBY Volume 6, even though we're only in one episode.
And you are?
Oh, I think I'm high-powered.
Oh, okay. I'm apparently the guest. I'm Raymond McNeil, the head producer of the Celtic Phoenix Productions, and the author of Forged in Flame, which is available now on Amazon in both print and digital.
Already quality shilly. You are gonna fit in well here, sir.
I have a question. Do you lose out money if people get it through the Audible free app or the free Amazon reader thing? Do you lose out money if people are doing that?
What do you mean, just that they get just the chapter, or because they only get a free preview? They don't get the whole book.
If they're I think in Prime some books are just free. If you have
you have to opt in for that as an author. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually make more on the digital version though, so buy the digital version.
Okay,
there we go.
There we go. I was gonna order it with my next paycheck.
I'm glad to know.
I like paper. I like having paperback. I know digital's good, but I prefer paperback when I'm reading.
Says the man who likes slicing his hands and killing trees on paper. Gosh.
Hey, okay, that's my thing. Okay, pain is good. That's masochism. So.
Okay.
All right. So.
Next.
So, did you see that Renora moment in the OP? Because I saw that Renora moment in the OP. Dude, what the heck? Oh yeah, I don't know if we told Celtic Phoenix this. I am #1 Renora shipper in the world.
Good man. It's a good ship.
All right,
it is. Thank you.
And with the Volume 5's finish, there was kind of, I wouldn't say the fan base has gotten toxic. It's more like carbon monoxide. And it's nice to see fresh breath. It's nice to see this episode as a fresh breath air, or as I like to call it, Soxygen. I'm Soxygen.
And I am Robert, and I just want to guide everyone's attention to the glorious beers we got here.
Am I the only?
I actually messed up shaving it.
I'm too lazy to shave. you know, last time I shaved, my students gave me a bunch of crap for it, so...
And we're also not sponsored by Dollar Shave Club too, unfortunately.
I replaced beard with sunglasses. Okay, so that's.
I literally just shaved this 2 days ago.
I literally cannot grow a beard thicker than this, so I have a perpetual 7 o'clock shadow.
We can trade.
5 o'clock shadow. I call it a 7 o'clock shadow, so just
yeah,
slightly longer time.
It's all about perspective.
Nice.
All right, so. This is what happened in the episode. So the episode literally opens on a cold open.
Hey.
As they're fighting in a train. I personally like the first fight scene a little bit better than the second fight scene, but we'll get into that. There's some tag teaming going on with both Weiss and RWBY, Big and Blank, and you. Crow. Crow does some fighting
with RWBY and Weiss any day.
Oh no, that's how dude.
Oh my.
Is it like a ladder match where you have to fight over who gets rights to the child?
I know what you're talking about, and no.
What?
No.
I thought it was just an analogy.
It's a reference to a fight that happened in WWE. Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. It was Eddie Guerrero, right?
I think
had a match over the rights to Rey Mysterio, to custody of Rey Mysterio's son, and it was so stupid.
What?
Wrestling's weird.
WWE
Wrestling is live action anime.
It really is.
Yeah.
Except for what professional wrestling came first. Dang it. But yeah.
Well, it wasn't
as Showmancy.
It's a combination of anime and novellas at the same time. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. It wasn't real. It wasn't real, obviously, but it was just.
Your summary.
Go ahead.
So,
yeah.
So, it then basically cuts away to whenever they go through the tunnel, to where they're basically at the train station. They're like, oh, we're at the train station. Crow writes a letter to John Ironwood, and basically it's like, hey, this is what happened, but you probably know better that that's not what actually happened. TM, fake news, whatever.
Then RWBY has RWBY has a bag.
Out.
Yeah.
RWBY has a bag with a thing in it.
We never find out what's in it, do we?
No, we don't.
Probably no. Weiss mentions that she doesn't want to go back to Atlas after all the troubles with to leave. We get to see Ren shirtless again, so all the Ren sexuals out there are just.
Which is everybody, by the way, as we've covered before. That is everybody.
The shakedown crew comes in. Crow basically tells them to buzz off. They all hop onto the train, but before that, there is a talk between Blake and Ilya. There's also a jab at Blake too. That Weiss actually, is it Weiss that does the jab at Blake?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Weiss makes a jab at Blake. We have the goodbye between Blake and Ilya, and then also Neptune shows up along with Sun. There's the kiss between Blake and Sun, and then Neptune, being the Chad he is trying to pick up.
She kisses him on the cheek. That you're making it sound like
Yeah.
there was a full-on lip lock going on. No, there wasn't.
Yeah, this is a kid's show.
It's not confirmed until there's tongue involved.
It's true. That's true. That's we know.
Oh my god.
Trust me, my poor Renora heart is still waiting for that. So I'm not one of those.
I'm looking for Renora. They're just gonna skip that part, and like by volume 7, you're just gonna wind up having a child.
Yeah, right! Oh my god, I'm so happy you're here.
One day. Yeah.
You're getting me way too excited. That's what I've been saying that for so long. Like based on
You've always called
all that, and then suddenly one day they'll just have a child, like an actual baby. Like
I know. Based on this universe and how it works, Renora should have a child by the end of the series and before the end of the series. Like genuinely, that's not bullshit. They really should. Anyway, go ahead, Hyperd. I just got excited.
So Sun and Neptune are going back to Shade Academy, so they're going to be out of the plot basically for the foreseeable future, but who knows? We then get to... Does it cut to... Okay, no. It doesn't cut to the Adam bit. It then cuts back to
the Adam bit came before this, and yeah.
Oh, yeah,
he killed 7 people. He killed 7 White Fang mooks off screen, which is supposed to be scary and intimidating, but it's not.
It just boils down to
pretty much everyone else has like 10 White Fang mook kills under their belts. So,
yeah.
What I like about that scene in particular is that they were all just so dissing him.
Oh yeah, no, I like.
Because like after what he pulled,
beat by the Belladonna girl.
Yeah,
you're totally whipped, bro.
Is an insult, and I think that's just hilarious. That Blake is so weak that anyone getting beaten by her is an automatic insult and like grounds for being dethroned.
That's a good point. They make that seem like it makes him weak, but it's like, can any of you take her?
Well,
I think she was doing
that he just slaughtered them wholesale. That was kind of the point.
Yeah, the line is it's like oh, you got sass from the Belladonna girl, and then he's just like unsheaths katana, nothing personnel.
Yeah. All right. So then,
and
now we're back on the train, though, right?
We're back on the train. Video games happen. Yang is looking at upgrading her arm with higher frequency vibrations, and Ruby's playing video games. She calls a team exercise to play more video games. This leads to a little engagement that I like, where Yang goes to grab her bag. Blake's like, "Oh no, I got that," and then Yang's just sitting there like, why? Why are you doing this?
Exactly.
It's like, I'm Yang. I can lift things. I have a mechanical arm.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of ignorant of Blake to like assume that Yang needed help with something like that.
Yeah.
Because
like, I'm Yang.
Boiled down. This is the same character who said that everyone can be boiled down to a single word.
I didn't read it that way. I read it that
And for Yang, it is now left-handed.
Damn. But I didn't read it that way. I read it just as like Blake is just. I mean, I think that's what they were intending.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Oh, yeah,
I get what they're going
But
for. That she's
that's
trying
not
too
funny.
hard, and that's one thing that I kind of appreciate. I kind of like. I don't know. I was kind of okay with Blake this episode because it's
I
like
kind of was
she
too
knows-
because she felt
yeah,
bad.
she knows she fucked up. So yeah,
That's
she
good.
knows she
That's
fucked up.
improvement.
She knows
I
that
can
she
hear the
what she did
Abraham
was wrong.
Lincoln in the
So
distance
that's
going,
good.
Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. Now you fucked up. You have fucked up now. You have...
I don't know what's going on anymore.
You've never heard of that? That's from I think it's Key and Peele.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
yeah, I
no,
don't watch I don't watch TV, so I've never.
Well, you can just watch Key and Peele on YouTube. It's great.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
That's where I watch my Key and Peele.
yeah, pretty much all
But
those are on the YouTube.
But yeah, so it's kind of nice because Blake knows she fucked up, even if everyone else seems to have forgotten.
All right.
And I
and
mean,
then-
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hart.
yeah, and then basically, Crow rolls up with probably the most like sissy-looking drink a man could possibly be holding.
It had an orange slice in it too. He was classy.
Don't do this in the man's drink.
Yeah.
Some of those drinks are fucking delicious, man.
Yeah.
they are.
Okay, I
Especially
He
the
mean,
only
blue-
drinks from the flask because he has to, you know?
You can't
Most
exactly
alcohol is
martini on you at all
expensive.
times.
coming from a
Just
high
let him find her things when he wants to.
That-
But yeah.
And then basically, the Grim attack happens basically right after that, pretty much.
Yeah.
I do like the line where it's like, oh, Weiss is like, oh, just our luck. It's like, no, it's not your luck. It's just like that throw-in line. He just throws it at the audience. I like
Yeah.
that one just little offhand line, and then the fight sequence starts.
So
I'll
it's
get
actually
to
not
that
his
about
luck.
Crow.
We'll
I
get to that.
think that's the first of foreshadowing for something bad happening to Crow this volume.
Well,
Yeah,
that intro
possibly.
kind of like
Maybe,
yeah.
The intro kind of confirms it, but like the idea that line in particular kind of set off alarm bells in my head, even though I really wouldn't care if he died.
Oh no, I'd be
Yeah.
happy. At this point, I want him to die. We'll get into that later. So.
I mean, I'm gonna be sad to see him go, but he, like,
Yeah, I'd be sad to see him
Easy.
go, but I'd understand if they did kill him off.
They
Yeah,
just
'cause,
can't.
like-
They just can't afford it with all the money they spent on Genlock. It's like, sorry, we gotta
I
cut
hate
someone.
watching you leave, but I love watching you go.
oh god,
50% off.
yeah, the fandom's gonna lose their shit, but like RWBY needs more agency, so
Yeah.
what can you do?
All right.
Well, if we want to speak about RWBY
Yeah.
and agency, there's another very bad.
yeah, we're gonna
defender.
just get through the
We'll
summary
get
and
there.
then we can get into the
We'll
get into the
get to
details.
that.
Yeah, we'll get into the details.
Yeah.
Just so they
Basically,
fight.
so they start fighting. Mace Dude gets flung off of the top of the train. He gets snatched like a soldier in Gondor whenever the Nazgul show up. I
Because
do
4
appreciate.
years at an academy doesn't teach you dick, apparently.
Also, he's probably got too comfortable shaking down all the.
All right, let
the
me put it this way:
writers.
his
Maybe.
headmaster was Lionheart.
Okay, that's fair.
Thank you. I made that joke on Discord yesterday. Like, geez, it's almost like, and this is gonna go on my review too. It's almost like their headmaster, the one who was teaching them all this stuff, was a traitor.
Yeah.
I guess that could be fair, yeah.
Huh? That
There-
actually, wow.
But-
That makes everything way worse. Just looking back at it.
But
I mean,
at the same
I
time,
feel
it
like
makes
that
so
also raises the
much
question,
sense
though, of
now.
how long was Lionheart a traitor, but...
Just gonna
And
replay
then-
the death scene for
Well,
like
I mean,
an
obviously
hour.
a long time. Salem said that he had been working with them for a long time, or was it
Okay.
Cinder that said that? Either way, he had been a long time.
Okay.
And
That's
then the next part is the gun wielding Mook runs up further onto the train and turns on the armor and the guns, which this is something I really appreciate in this universe, is how it seems like every vehicle that's a mass transportation vehicle just has a gun setting on it. It has a big gun. Trade has guns and armor. I love it. It's great. Which also in this universe makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That there's just turrets and everything.
It's
we
also
got
very reminiscent
Kind of,
of the game.
Yeah.
And then it cuts.
Unless
So
we talk-
and then they go in the
Although I-
tunnel
Talk about
again.
that pile of
I'll,
garbage.
I'll talk about it later, but yeah.
And then they go in
And
the
then it-
tunnel again, right?
Yeah, then they go in the tunnel again. Gun Mook gets his arm broken. And then we get probably the biggest the big spoiler that people were mentioning about before this episode came out, was that we get the big spoiler that, oh, guess what? The relic attracts Grimm, which I personally like this revelation. It's great. It also makes sense why they're being kept.
We'll get into how it was revealed and everything, Robert. Remember, this is just the overview. Let's get through the overview, then we can get into the details. Yeah,
we'll talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about all this.
That's the big knowledge bomb.
Yep.
They convinced the dude to turn off the turrets. They come out of the tunnel. They basically agree to split everyone up between the two. All the passengers move to the front of the train. RWBY, Crow, and them go to the back of the train. Red and John combine their powers to camouflage the train
and make Captain Planet.
I was gonna say Captain Planet too.
Yes. The fight continues on with Team RWBY. Bunch of tag team attacks. A good work between all of them, which it's nice to see. Although I feel like it's a little premature, given how much time they spent apart.
Good, I'm not the only one.
And then basically, Crow and Weiss. I say Crow. Crow and RWBY finish off the big Grimm, the big Chimera, whatever it's called, Grimm. And then
that was a Chimera. The others were Manticores.
Yeah, finish off the big Chimera Grimm. Train derails. Weiss basically saves everyone from dying of a billion broken bones with her glyphs, and the old lady with the woke goggles comes out and she's just fine. And the old lady with the woke goggles is very suspicious.
She's a silver-eyed warrior.
Oh, she's Maz
pupils.
She's Maz Katara.
Seen my pupils? I can't find them.
All right, so we got a general list of bad and good things. This time, we're gonna make this an official thing now for the podcast viewers who don't know this. I started doing this at the end of Volume 5 for the last few episodes, just because of how bad everything was. But now I kind of realize it's a good thing to just have some general likes and dislikes about the episode before we dive really deep into everything. Now, fortunately, with this episode, at least for me, there were more good things than bad things, so we'll get the bad things out of the way first. Okay. As we mentioned before, and this is just real quick, unless you guys strongly disagree with this, just let me run through this real quick. Bad. Adam's scene is not actually intimidating, but I am glad they're at least trying to retcon how pathetic he was. I don't care about the trains. I hope that we don't mention the train schedule, because everybody on the fandom is just mentioning the train schedule. It doesn't fucking matter. We know the show's dumb sometimes. Who gives a shit anymore? At least they have a good excuse for why they have to walk this time. Oscar's wannabe meaningful line at the beginning of who's saving the world is stupid, and he still sucks. Yang explaining that her and Blake will eventually be okay is dumb. She should have only been upset. Stop spelling everything out for us, Rooster Teeth. That's really annoying. But on the plus side, it is good that Blake seems to feel bad. That is very important. Don't let anyone else die is still not a fucking plan. We call that's not a plan, and it's still not a plan.
Barely a concept.
Not a plan at all. Why would you install guns on a train if they attract Grimm toward passengers? That seems like a plot contrivance, but I do like the idea of having guns on the train, and I like what the having to turn them off led to, but that was kind of inconsistent. That's something Robert mentioned.
Yeah, it's kind of defeats the purpose if all they do is put the passengers at even more risk.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a couple answers to that.
Yeah, there might be
issue, but yeah.
Ozpin telling everyone that the relic attracts Grimm is dumb. They should have figured it out. As we know, that's better writing to have people figure stuff out. But I do like, as Hypard mentioned, I like the idea of the relic attracting Grimm. The teamwork should not be this good for Team RWBY so quickly, which is something we also mentioned. I like the idea of them working together again, but I don't like they're too good too quickly. She spent more time with Ranger than she spent with her own team thus far. That doesn't really make sense. Good stuff. This volume does look way better than the last one. Actual sets. Yay! That's nice.
Other than house and school and generic camp and generic road.
Yeah, exactly. I like I like that they actually kind of tried hard by doing a cold opening, cutting back to something else, cutting back to that same fight without actually repeating the actual sequences. And I think they did a pretty good job of it, especially for them and their budget and their ability to do continuation. I'm actually impressed with how all that worked out. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
RWBY actually using her...
and the fact that the two parts of the train fight, the cold open and then when they first cut back to it, it's from different perspectives.
Yeah, I really like that. That was really cool.
The first part, it's much more from Ruby's perspective, and then the second time when it goes back to that same like chunk of time, it's actually from Oscar's perspective.
Yeah, that's the first time they've ever tried that, and they did it pretty well. The first, I'm impressed, and I thought it added a lot to the
credits. There is a new co-director. I can't remember his name.
Is there? Okay.
But, yeah, there's a new co-director. So I'm wondering how much of a role he has to play in things.
Well, that might definitely could be it, but I like that. I thought that actually worked well, and it I don't know, it made the show feel more professional. It just, I don't know, that's what it felt like to me, and I liked it.
Those two scenes are shot from like left to right, the other one's shot right to left too. Also,
yeah, that was nice.
Really, and I've kind of alluded to this in a couple of my more recent videos. It feels like when they were doing Volume 5. And to a lesser extent, even like Volume 4, they didn't think they needed to put in that extra effort, because so long as they kept on putting like the same amount of effort as they had with previous volumes, the fans would just stay. They didn't think that they could do anything to lose the fans that they had already built up over the years. And then Volume 5 happened, and people, like even really positive people who love the show, like Murder Birds and Unicorn of War, like they started making more. They started like voicing more criticisms, and like Rooster Teeth probably doesn't watch any of our stuff, but they do watch reaction videos. We know that they watch at least Murder Birds, and so hearing those people complain about the same things that we complain, it adds a lot more validity to our criticisms, to the point where they realize we have to put in more work. We have to.
I'm gonna confirm.
We have to keep. I actually like using this as a criticism of Volume 5. In Volume 5, they stopped moving forward.
I'm going to confirm right now, because I confirmed this in the reaction with Fat Man and everyone. The animation team itself, I'm not going to reveal how I know this, they do not know who the hell we are.
Yeah.
Any of the critics, they don't know. Now, the writing team, I don't know. I've not heard anything on that front. I've gotten non-response on that. Just letting you know that we.
They don't know. They don't actively look for stuff like that.
Well, I mean, the animation team is.
It looks like the new co-director is Connor Pickens.
And
I've heard that name before.
I have heard that name before too.
He's done other stuff for Rooster Teeth. I can't think of what though.
Oh, okay.
The animation team has also worked like they're in a sweatshop, so they don't have time to watch anything else besides do work. So. Anyway, all right. So
but anyway,
RWBY for most of the time.
Yeah,
he's been editor for RWBY since 2015. So
okay. So RWBY actually using her semblance is nice. I'm glad to see happy RWBY again and her actually taking charge. Ilya's new outfit. Ilya's new outfit is kind of nice actually.
It's cute.
Yeah, it actually is. I literally was just talking about how I didn't find Ilya attractive in any way like a week ago, and then the new outfit came out. I was like, all right.
And then you immediately bring up how you don't like Ilya, and I'm like, but brown anime women, dude. But brown anime.
Sun is still just a freaking solid overall character. He's awesome. I'm kind of sad we're not going to see him for a while.
Kidding me? He was shit in Volume 5. Volume 4.
So is everyone else.
Volume 4 and 5.
He made in our podcast we kind of put it as Blake. Sun made Blake tolerable in Volume 5. In Volume 4. In Volume 4. In Volume 4. Our group is kind of on the. We can talk about that differently later, but. And
I was kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay with. I was okay with Sun, at least in Volume 4.
Yeah, I liked him in Volume 4.
I can't think of anyone outside of like maybe Weiss that I was okay with.
No, I wasn't a big fan of Sun, but like 4 and 5 sold me on his character, especially on the Black Sun ship. So it's like, I like him.
Okay, so we're not all in agreement about that.
I don't know about that much.
But I do like. Okay, can we all agree that Neptune flirting with Ilya was funny?
That is funny.
Neptune is a breath of fresh
Because that
air.
was funny. Okay, so we can agree on that. That was funny.
Also, Chibi Neptune has certainly rubbed off on their ability.
Which goes back to Roberts and my theory that
isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yes, and that goes to Roberts and my theory, which you guys remember from Chibi seasons 1 and 2, and we used to talk about this. Robert and I said, if Chibi Neptune is canon, Neptune's gay. That is true. We used to talk about that. He's secretly gay. All right, and I'm glad that Blake at least tried to apologize to Sun and he cut her off, because she was actually trying to do an apology there. I'm not going to keep shitting on her. She was definitely apologizing to Sun. I'm very happy to see that. She feels bad, and she should. That's good.
Like we said, Blake seems like it does seem like they've heard the issues with...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it seems like they probably have heard some of the issues that we had with Blake, and they're trying to, fix them, make her more apologetic, and make her more aware of how she behaved. Yeah. So hopefully they keep going with this. I'm starting to like her a little bit.
Yep. Nice to see Scared Citizens and RWBY actually paying attention to that and doing something about it. I like
killing
that
people on screen is always a good thing too.
Yep. I like that RWBY and Jean are the two who actually convince the other guy to turn off the turrets, and it's not Crow that convinces him. And yes, I like that they did kill a guy on screen. That's good. RWBY being a leader and Nor and all the students being the one that come up with the actual plan instead of Oz and Crow is so good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Blake still
acting like a leader for the
Yes.
first time.
Yes. Thank
in
you.
In the entire show.
Yes, exactly.
It only took until the Volume 6 premiere.
Hey, but we're getting it. It's progress, okay? I'm still happy. It still felt good to have the kids be what they're supposed to be. Blake still seeing, thinking, and being frightened of Adam is a retcon, but it is the retcon that's the retcon that we needed. It's the retcon that one of the retcons Robert specifically talked about.
I don't think she was scared. I don't think she was scared though. I think it was Adam. I think she really did see Adam. I think Adam is going to continue chasing them down as they're trying to make their way to Argus or whatever.
I mean, it was also.
But I think she was ready to fight him. I think she was ready to fight him.
Oh, I still see it as her being paranoid.
Yeah, it's a direct callback to the Black.
Was that Adam though? Because he had a weird hood, half of his face was covered in black and stuff like that. He seemed to have a different outfit.
We're all wrong. That was Neo.
Oh yeah, right.
Don't start.
All right, and
hey, at least you didn't say it was Summer Rose.
Oh, God.
I mentioned this.
We'd have had to boot you. We would have had to boot you.
I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention it again. That Renora moment in the intro.
Yeah.
I screamed like a schoolgirl.
I have expectations, Rooster Teeth, now. I know you've lied to us with trailers before, with OPs before. You better not fucking lie to me this time.
They've been decently honest.
They have,
in the last
two have been honest.
The last two openings, they've been pretty honest, except for that one.
So I have fucking expectations now. They better fucking kiss. And have a baby. I like the... I know the lyrics... The lyrics to this song, the intro OP, are terrible, but the music I really like. That guitar riff is catchy as fuck. All right, it's a lot catchier than a lot of the previous intros. Still not. The volume 1 is still the best musically. The intro.
Yeah.
Cinder and Neo in this volume. Yes, please. We all said that Cinder should not have died because we need we need RWBY to actually kill her. And Neo,
the person in the hood is definitely Cinder.
And we've been begging.
I'm kind of hoping she just kills Neo. I'm
kind
of hoping that Neo shows up, looking for revenge. You got me and Roman into this. I'm gonna kill you. And Cinder's just bitch, please.
And reiterate what I wanted to see happen because what I want to see happen. I want to see Neo show up in the middle of a fight between the bad guys and the good guys, and just you are all directly responsible for Roman dying. You are all dying here. And goes around stabbing people in the shins. That's all she does.
This is as far as I can reach.
The bad guys and the good guys look at each other. It's we're gonna call a truce just for this.
We gotta stop the angry midget.
What is it?
Where's the Leprechaun movies? Next thing you know, she'll be chasing us around in a wheelchair.
Oh God.
And she'll be taller for it.
Oh, no.
That's not a wheelchair. That's a booster seat with wheels.
booster
Sorry.
seat with wheels. All right, and lastly, but most importantly, the hints of Oscar being taken over by Ozpin, because they did that little history of Ozpin thing, and Team RWBY and Jean being mad at him are so good, because just can we please get rid of Ozpin and know he's a dick, or he's either a bad guy or he's the shittiest good guy ever, and we need him to fuck off, and Oscar is still the worst character in the show. So can we please get rid of that?
But by the way, with that part in the opening with Jean checking Oscar into the wall, if you've seen the Floof Artist edit of that,
He shared that with us.
That was my idea. That was my idea with Jean and Oscar.
Okay, to be fair, I think everyone thought of it.
I didn't even know.
That is going to be so much shipping fodder. That little segment. As a shipper myself, I will tell you, that kind of setup, perfect for us shippers to jump off from.
Yes.
I mean, you're not wrong, but it's still wrong.
Because even though Jean hates Oscar, you could always just say he's a tsundere.
All right, there's the list. So what do we want to? What do we want to actually dive into first and discuss?
Well, considering the first part is literally just like a little fight thing, I want to talk about like Oscar is taking Ozpin's speech patterns at this point. It's really fucking creepy.
And I'm good with that.
Like the actor
that might be
himself,
intentional, but
that's the actor that plays Al from the first Full Metal Alchemist, correct?
we know.
And he plays Urushihara. He also plays Urushihara in Devil's a Part-Timer, which is a great anime.
This actor in particular, even though he's been given some crap from this show, and even though I hate Oscar, he does a very good job voicing.
Oh, he does.
Absolutely. Hard.
Everything for all that we hate Oscar. Yeah, there's no denying that his voice actor is really good at what he does, and does a really good job with what he's given. But
him actually adding in the cadence of Ozpin, I did pick up on that, and I thought that was rather interesting.
Yeah, it's like it wasn't Ozpin's influence, but it was still like the way Ozpin was usually talks. He was doing that instead of his usual like farm boy talk. It was kind of like getting a little weird.
Ozpin,
but
I don't think we should be here anymore.
Yeah, it's okay, Oscar.
Zoink, Scoob.
Oh jeez, lost
Oh no, we brought up.
Hey, only true intellectuals and geniuses can actually watch RWBY and enjoy it.
I'm Pickle Pin!
But so we have that line Oscar of like, but saving the world is hard, but at least it's us and not those guys. Yeah, Oscar, it's great that it's an arbitrarily chosen 14-year-old with no real motivation who's had a month of training over 2 academy graduates. I'm so glad it's you and not them, you fuck.
I mean, if you want to be technical, it's a month and 2 weeks, but let's not go.
I don't care. But yeah.
I'm glad to see the speech pattern because it means that Oscar is going to be taken over by Ozpin, which is exactly what we want.
Probably.
Because and here's the thing, if they did plan this out from the beginning, I have to give them credit. Now they still missed Oscar's inciting incident, which makes us lose some of the sympathy we would have for him. But the thing is, it's very hard to add a new character in a show and make them a main character and do it well and make the audience like them. The best example I think I've ever seen of that is Toph from Avatar, but that's because they're fucking good at what they do most of the time, and that show was almost perfect. In one episode, Toph went from Toph didn't exist in the show to becoming a fan favorite in her intro episode. They didn't do that with Oscar, so the best thing they can do is they need to get rid of him, because besides the stupid Rose Garden shippers, and they're all stupid for being Rose Garden shippers, let's be honest. I don't care if I offend you. Nobody likes him. So he's only harming the show. Making us feel sympathy for him by getting him taken over by Ozpin is the best thing they can do.
Well,
Yeah.
Considering
And-
go back to his shitty farm. I mean, seriously, that plot of land is like what 20 feet 20 feet square. Like that's.
I know.
Yeah.
What are
That's
you
not
doing
enough to
there?
be a farm. Yeah.
Well,
And-
man, I can understand it. It's just like I can understand like him wanting to do something more with his life, but the fact is like it's like you go from
That's a real
get out of my head, and then like the next episode we see him.
Disney princess.
He's packing and out the door. Yeah,
he's just
exactly.
out the door.
That's that is way too big of a leap and
Oscar
stuff
is
like
a Disney princess. Oh no.
Because
Oh, boy.
and
Get that super crown away from him.
and I think
No more.
I think we know.
And so
Just the idea
Actually,
of
well, what's
Osman not being a good guy, I like, or not being a competent good guy. Something that we talked about this, like in our reactions to the episode before we got on Discord or before we got on the podcast. Of it's be really nice if they actually went against Osman, or some people did and some people didn't. Like that conflict would be nice. And again, just we need to get rid of the other leaders. We get rid of Crow. Kill him. I don't care.
Yeah.
Kill him. I liked him in Volume 3. I kind of liked him in Volume 4. But kill him. He needs to go away. We need the kid. The best part of this episode was RWBY and the kids coming up with the plan and them taking control and them being leaders. That was the best
even
part
if they
of
made
this
the
episode.
adults look really incompetent
Yeah.
at the
That's the
same
thing.
time, but yeah.
This is what I wanted to touch on. At least my main point of this episode was the first thing, and the reaction with Fat Man was incredible because we were all just like gushing over this episode.
It's really good. It's fucking
The fights
good.
were actually, I really enjoyed the fights. I know people can pick them apart, but I thought they had the kineticism and the dynamism that they needed to have, even if the choreography might not have been there.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I
But
felt
then-
I feel like it was better in the second part. In the first part, there was a lot more like sloppy movement,
But
like floaty characters.
The
and stuff.
big hit for me in this episode, the big win, wasn't anything to do with the choreography or the fight stuff because they finally fucking learned the thing that makes a show go forward are characters being fucking characters.
Yes, exactly.
Actually having character interactions and
Dio!
having friendships. They were people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie since Volume 3.
Yep.
And like going
And the last time I saw her was when Penny died.
like going into like the next part at the train station, like I was just aglow with like super cheerful RWBY. Like this was just like this. It warms my cold dead heart to see RWBY all bubbly and happy.
No, I felt
And
good.
then like even
What
even
I-
with like RWBY and Yang like sitting there making faces at the two mooks as Crow's talking to them. That was great. Like I loved it. Like that reminded like that brought me back to like Volume 1 of like the little shitty anime part in like the beginning of the first episode. Like that made me. That, I was
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
this felt good.
I
I'm happy
thought it
with
was maybe a little much because it's like you guys are, carrying a dangerous weapon to another country, and you're spazzing out over some mystery item in a bag. I don't know. I thought it was maybe a little much, but it was nice.
When it
The
comes
interactions
down
were
to
still.
too much or too little, we need too much of
Yes, exactly. With character
Okay,
stuff,
I guess that's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
with character stuff, we need too
Yeah.
much, and that's
We have been starved for the last volume and a half for any kind of semblance of character.
I guess our UNICEF payments finally came in. They finally delivered us the character we were asking the entire time.
Yeah.
that's the best part of the episode. So we still had stuff we complained about, and there are other things to complain. Like but
Like the logic of
overall,
having turrets if they, like again the turrets. It's like why do you even have these if all they do is put people at more risk? Which maybe I don't know. Maybe they're not used to these kinds of Grim that can spit fire at them or something like that. Maybe they've never had to deal with these kinds of Grim before. Maybe he was going against protocol. Maybe he's not supposed to use them on these kinds of Grim or something. But it just seemed kind of weird. But yeah.
Well, no, I mean, because if I was the one doing the security for that, I would have turrets lined all the way the fuck up. It doesn't matter, like especially if they're very accurate, because what they were doing and they were putting in work, but like the whole fireball stuff was like, oh, okay, fuck. You got lightning dragons now, fire breathing manticores. It's like, fuck.
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's yeah.
And the Manticores and the Chimera were pretty cool.
Yeah, they're
Like-
really cool.
I only noticed this upon my third viewing, my most recent viewing, but The Chimera Grim, it had a snake tail. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that just kind of. Yeah, it's kind of. It's kind of how that.
I mean, it was kind of underutilized, but it was
Is it
cool.
actually a Chimera though?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
They might not call it, but it's got a snake tail and all the stuff up front. That's a Chimera.
Traditionally, Chimeras don't fly.
Okay, look,
Chimeras
it's not
have 3 heads.
For example,
Yeah.
the things that were fighting on the train for the most part were manticores.
Yeah.
Manticores don't have wings.
Yeah.
This is
So.
true.
So they just
I
they
didn't
just have
know
like
that. I thought they did.
Well, there's some iterations that have it, but like there's very far and few between. And mostly they have.
I mean,
like,
these
bat
are
wings
like
and wings.
reimaginings,
Oh,
but
they do have wings. I was wrong.
Yeah. They've got like bat wings or something like that.
I just
Yeah.
like the Monster Girl Manticores, but that's just me. So
I don't. It's like the manticores looked scarier to me than the Chimera because like the Chimera's face was just like it was just kind of like looked like Timo from like Tales of Xillia. So I just kind of want to like hug it. I just want to like.
it did look kind of cute.
It did look, yeah. The fate.
It looks like my pillow.
Yeah, I
Just
just
like a gray mask on top of it.
I realized
Just like-
that the head of the Chimera is actually like instead of having 3 heads of different creatures, it has 1 head that has features of all 3. So it's a lion.
Yeah, it's got like a lion's mane. It's got horns. So yeah.
It kind of does. I think you're right on that. I think that's where they were going. I think that's where they went with it.
Unfortunately, it means it ends up looking cute and cuddly.
Yes, it did kind of look cute and cuddly. It's true.
that's how it
But it
loves you.
still gave them a good fight, and it
But I
still
mean-
felt like kind of a threat.
So do polar bears, and they're like
They're
Yeah.
master.
One of the
They're
deadliest
master
carnivores,
killers.
If they want it to look scary, they need to make a plushie like they did with Pyrrha. That'll be scary.
Oh God, please
Yeah.
no.
Oh gosh, no.
We're not prepared for
I
that.
did.
Jesus
Or-
Christ, no, nothing deserves that.
I still can't believe that that's an actual thing of merchandise.
I know. It's amazing.
One thing.
They play into that, don't they? Like they realize how horrifying it is, and they just started playing. With
I think they did. I think they ended up
Yeah.
joking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like I don't know. I liked the exchange with Ozpin reveals that the relic draws the Grim to it, and like everyone is understandably pissed. I like that Crow is surprised by it and actually seems pissed off by it. I think that tells you something. If like your most loyal subordinate is pissed off at you, then you've fucked up and stuff like that. So seems like they've realized that, and like everyone else is pissed off. But I also do understand why like RWBY jumps to his defense. She is probably going to be defending him for most of this volume, but like it's understandable that she's like, guys, let's put a pin in this. We got Grim outside. So.
Yeah, I actually like
I
that.
don't think that Ruby's actually coming to his defense. It's just doing the leadership thing. It's like we will table this argument for later. We have an actual problem to solve.
Well,
I-
in
I-
fair,
I
I
like
think
that.
she might.
Like- I kind of get the feeling that RWBY would be defending Ozpin himself.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
what I'm
know
thinking.
Exactly. I guess because she has
Yeah.
such a faith complex in
Yeah.
him, and I really want
Yeah.
someone like Yang or Weiss to like just kind of take RWBY by the side, or maybe even Blake. The idea of like trusting authority blindly. That seems like perfect. The Blake Cobalt was saying like, RWBY,
Yeah.
Ozpin's an asshole. Get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
And
well,
it kind of and so it looks like John's going to be like the main antagonist with him. So who knows? Maybe
which would
Ruby's
be
gonna have,
good.
like, that trial
At
of,
least that means that.
my first friend, or someone who I've been trusting this entire time and kind of relying on and seeing as a mentor. Who do I trust here?
At least that means that Jean would be something. He wouldn't be just taking over for RWBY. That'll be nice. It's something be different. Because
Who do I trust? The man who took my virginity, or the boy I met at school? But for all the people that want Oscar to be creepy as fuck, remember that's Ozpin. Why do you ship those two together, everyone? Why?
I think the evidence is more clear than ever, especially with the intro where they have the past versions of Ozpin, that it's very clear that he's taking over Oscar. It's not, and all the Rose Garden shippers that keep trying to use the defense of no, but it's actually Oscar. No, it's not. If he wants to take over, he can, and he is slowly but surely.
Yeah.
The speech patterns show this, where it's very obvious. So you really got to stop thinking that. And anybody thinks that it's possible for that ship to happen, they can tease it a little bit if they feel like it. But if you think that ship has any chance of happening, remember
being creepy as fuck.
Remember the hashtag #MeToo movement, and remember that Rooster Teeth are good little SJWs, and they cannot make a ship like that happen. They just know that they would get torn apart because better SJWs than them would give them shit.
And demonetized.
we know that's going to happen. We know that would happen if they tried to do that. So we know they cannot do that. They cannot imply some ancient guy is going to be into RWBY in any way. No, they can't make that happen.
Unless they're part of that SJW faction that's pushing for very specific rights.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think.
I think you're doing tech. Are you talking about TED Talks or something like that?
No. TED Talks.
There was a person.
it wasn't TED Talks. It was their weird social science spinoff TEDx. That someone went on there talking about how
MAP.
Those kind of relationships are natural. It was I can't remember.
Yep.
It was basically saying pedophilia was a sexual orientation.
Yeah.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah. So no, they cannot.
Yeah, they took that down, Deb.
So they.
No, the argument for like a lot of, because I know a few Rose Garden shippers, and I've argued with them on Facebook and stuff like that, but like they're still friends of mine. It's like yeah, no, Ozpin's he's getting dispersed into Osper. Wait, context.
Don't forget, everyone. Ozpin is inside a little boy.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like his memories and stuff like that are being dispersed. It's like it's like he'll still be Oscar. It's like but like if you notice, like it should bother these people. It should bother them because it's like he's got memories, but now he's talking like him. Yeah. He's got his memories. He's got his fighting style. Is he like he's Ozpin still? It doesn't matter.
And don't forget. Oscar doesn't have a personality to begin with. He has no character. Yeah. He is a flesh suit.
Yeah, so he's still just gonna turn into Ozpin, even if he if Ozpin just disperses in him and he still goes by Oscar. He's still just Ozpin 2.0.
Guys, what if Ozpin was lying about going into people with similar mindsets, and instead he just jumps into the minds of people that have the least amount of character on the planet?
Probably.
That would make sense.
Probably it. That would explain Oscar.
That would make sense.
Oscar has such a lack of charisma and presence that Ozpin can just jump right in there and just, all right, I'm in control.
And
look at this cinnamon bun.
And that's really sad that that's true. That Oscar still has like absolutely zero character. Even after this episode, he's in his 3rd volume. He has 0 character. Even with as good of a voice actor as he has. Even with Aaron Dismuke voicing him, he still has no character.
He's like what's her face from the Divergent books / movies.
Oh,
who is supposed to be like this dauntless, like unimpressionable, strong, independent woman, but because the writer's a hack, she also has to be milquetoast, wooden, and bland. That way, anyone, no matter their personality, can project themselves onto her.
Oh wait, you're not talking about Twilight?
No, I'm talking about.
He's talking about.
I'm talking about something even worse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Divergent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One other thing I noticed here, though, is that it looks like I think Oscar might be getting nerfed because this is the guy who whooped Lionheart's ass, held his own against Hazel, 2 guys that Crow had trouble with, and yet here he's having trouble with a Grimm that Team RWBY are, all doing pretty good because they all kill like 3 of them. He can't even kill 1. So maybe they're nerfing him. It's still inconsistent, but it's still probably a good idea.
It's not necessarily a nerf. It's Oscar actually fighting this time. When he was holding his own against Hazel, that was Ozpin. Oscar's Oscar is basically saying, no, I'm in control at all times, until the only time I think Ozpin was actually in this was when he was like, hey, can I take over, or when he was actually like.
Okay, but it was still Oscar that beat Lionheart, and Lionheart still, still gave Crow a lot of trouble. So it's yeah, it feels like he's being nerfed and stuff like that. And yeah, maybe that's probably just because he's fighting them with a stick, but still, if they're nerfing him, good. But even though it sucks that they have to.
Yeah, they made for a good shot, but still.
Yeah. I still think it's good overall. But yeah, can we also talk about how Blake isn't completely insufferable in an episode for once? Like, that's amazing. I really like apologetic Blake. I like
like we said,
Blake
she knows she fucked up, and she tries to apologize to Sun and stuff like that. It sucks that everyone else seems to have forgotten it. Like Yang's like, oh yeah, we're still gonna have problems, but 5 minutes later, that's kind of proven completely false.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, no, you haven't. Like, it's one of those things where they're all like, it's like the exact opposite of when someone says, I forgive you, but I won't forget. It's like, no, you haven't forgiven him. It's the exact opposite of that. It's like, I forgive you, but I haven't forgotten. It's like, no, I've forgiven you. I ain't completely forgotten, too.
I don't like the idea that they're like spelling out that everything's gonna be okay eventually. Like, why do you need to do that?
Yeah, that is another one of those things where it's like they should just show us.
Back and forth on this a lot, and that the mature thing to do in the situation is to forgive and forget. The idea, and that is, I think, what Yang, like, she had that whole heart-to-heart with Weiss about it.
It was so bad.
And they point out that Blake is kind of pushing for some kind of drama around it, and I think Yang is not having any of it.
Yang's just like, no, deal with it. I got it.
I'm not having drama about it. I understand you had your reasons. It hurt, but you know what? I'm going to forgive. I'm going to forget. We're going to go back to normal because we're still friends.
Yeah, it's kind of a bygone.
So I guess yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's just the leftover frustration, I think, from Volume 5 of like all that other stuff that went wrong. With Volume 5, and it's just like this is another one of those things where it's like, oh gosh, dang it, they're just really kind of not dealing with this at all. But it's okay. Blake's not insufferable, like you said. She's pretty good.
I do want Yang to kind of lash out once, just get it off her chest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if
put
we
it all on the table,
we'll see. It depends how they do it.
And then they can furiously make out, and I'd be fine with that too.
Yeah.
So here's my curiosity with this volume going on: is what is Team Junior's involvement going to be for like the rest of this volume? Are they gonna reach Argus and they're gonna be like, well, we gotta rent a truck and go rescue Team RWBY, and then the old lady with the woke goggles to me is super suspicious because she purposely stops like, I'm just gonna go chill out in this section of the train. So
we've already theorized that she's a silver-eyed warrior.
Yeah, that intro is making it way too obvious.
It's pretty obvious there.
I really hope they have that reveal like either next episode or like the episode after that, because we're not stupid. We know.
I guarantee you that it'll probably come out mid to late season. I don't think
That's what I was saying.
But
so
I think the reason why it's important is that this might be the reason why no one has told RWBY how to control her power, which it's still kind of stupid, but it makes more sense than any other reason.
Yeah, she still should have asked about it, but
burn out your corneas.
Ooh.
Because that lady has that's not goggles. Those are built into her face.
Yeah, they're blinders, like on the Spider-Man.
Yeah, they're also blinders on the side too. So.
Well, they might be replacements.
So like it's gonna slowly give RWBY like literal tunnel vision or something like that.
No, I mean it might make her go blind.
The worst case of glaucoma ever that you could have.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Anime eye powers. Oh no, I can't use my Sharingan anymore because I'm blind.
So back to like the question of like what Junior is gonna do for like the rest of the volume. Last week I thought like that they were. Last week I was pretty negative, and I figured they're just gonna spend pretty much the entire volume separate. But since we got that visual of like Jean, being angry at Oscar and stuff like that, I feel like I don't know, that might not be the case. Like maybe they'll meet up again like halfway through or something like that, or I don't know. Something I could
after 4 episodes. 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah.
I actually
probably just gonna try to start the rescue party pretty much. That's the first. That's just gonna be their arc.
I would like to see.
As soon as they get to Argus.
I would like to see what they're doing though while Team RWBY is moving as well. I don't want to just completely leave them alone.
Yeah.
I want to see what's going on with them. just because
Yeah.
we obviously they're not they're hardly secondary. I guess they're technically secondary main characters now, but they were the main story for two volumes because they were Team Rangers. So they are important. We do care about them. Plus Renora best ship. So we gotta. There are reasons to follow them and not just leave them so we can only focus on Team RWBY.
Yeah. Something I kind of thought about, like, Sokka and I kind of talked about this before the podcast, how in the opening you've got that visual of that blonde woman looking at a statue of what's probably Ozpin. I think I'm pretty sure it was
probably Salem.
Yeah, and but she's got long blonde hair, so Sokka and I kind of talked about, like, maybe maybe it's like, it's probably Salem Grimification, and possibly she's like maybe she was like an Arca or something like that, like she's Jean's great like grandmother or something like that. And so something I could possibly see is like she and
which would be why Tyrion was interested in him back in Volume 4.
Yeah, and so like maybe part of like Junior's thing is like Tyrion and maybe even Salem, showing up and like trying to corrupt Jean, and maybe that's what makes him, and maybe that's part of what like turns him against Ozpin and stuff like that. Like they tell him some of Ozpin's secrets, and then and so like they run into him again, and Jean just walks right up to him and just decks him in the face or something. Like while Tyrion and Salem are watching in the back, just going, "Excellent, let the hate flow through you" or something.
Or
I don't know.
It would either be that.
To make a heel turn.
Sorry, what?
I'll become the beekeeper. Yeah.
Oh God. It would either be what my theory with that, or it would be like the relic's so important that like Oscar has to like leave RWBY behind, and that's why John would be angry with him. And
then like it's just Oscar and John's just like, where are they? What did you do to them, you bastard, or something?
Yeah, because you've got like the answer with all those Grim and like those like the Grim arms, which I think are just bugs.
See, I wouldn't like that though.
They reminded me a lot of the Knuckleave.
Yeah, they But I say I wouldn't like that sock because I want it to be about Ozpin being a dick. Because we need them to distrust him and get rid of him. That would be something he could actually explain. I don't want it to be something that he can actually explain.
Yeah, that is a good point. Like if John's lashing out because like because Salem is like trying to corrupt him or something like that, then that makes Oscar the good guy or Ozpin the good guy, and it's like, ugh.
I don't want that.
You can still get the dickishness if it's like if like Oscar's like staying with the group and he wants to stay with the group, but it's like Ozpin's like, no, this is too dangerous. Take the relic, and he like takes over Oscar and he hightails it out of there and leaves RWBY behind.
Maybe
because that's something he would do.
Okay, that would make sense. Okay, then they can still be mad at him for a good reason, and he can't explain that.
Yeah.
Because they've been hinting at that, and I like that. That's one of the only things I kind of liked about Volume 5 is the hint, and they did it in a bad way because the whole turning into birds makes him such a bad person. Like, I don't understand that. But I like the ideas of people distrusting Ozpin and Crow and all that, and that's one of the few good things that they continued in Volume 5, and I'm glad it still seems like they're doing that in this volume. I like that. I'm on board the Ozpin is not really a good guy, or thinks he's a good guy, but he sucks at it. I think they're going for the Dumbledore thing. I think that's what they're doing.
I like the lesser of two evils idea.
I think that's what they're doing, but I hope they do it where either he dies like Dumbledore dies, or they're like, no, we can do a better job than you can and leave him behind. We're
putting you in the old person's home. You're staying here where you belong.
And so far, I gotta give them credit. That's what it feels like.
Has anyone seen my pupils?
And it does feel like that's what they're going for. It does feel like that's what they're going for because they're still hinting at people being upset at Ozpin. That's what happened in the trailer where everybody all of Team RWBY looks mad at Oscar, and the Jean thing and all of that, and the fact that the kids actually took leadership instead of the adults this time. So all of that hints to exactly the kind of stuff we've wanted the whole time. So, fingers crossed. Like, don't disappoint us now because honestly, for that kind of stuff,
keep going because this definitely feels like a good start.
Yeah, exactly. My expectations are actually really quite high, even with how bad last volume was, because we got exactly what we wanted, it even better than what we got in volumes 3 and 4.
We've got character, we've got world building, we've got decent action.
Yep.
I mean, guys, these are the 3 things you needed.
Yeah.
You got them.
Yeah, I saw.
Hold on
Yes.
to them.
Yeah, I saw your tweet to like
take
to like
the
Miles and
torture.
Carey. You're like, what the fuck? Where was this last one?
Where was this?
Yeah, you were like, what is this? Where was
It's been the last 6 years.
Last volume we've all grown a lot.
He gets really deep and he talks.
People are going to.
We've fucking seen it. Now we
This is
see
bad.
it.
Yeah, now we
This
see
is
it.
how we see it.
People are going to be watching this. This is going to really confuse the people who think that you're always really negative media. People are going to watch this podcast and be
Well,
like,
all of us, really.
are they complimenting this? Do they like this episode? What the hell?
Because people only watch half my videos, and
Yeah.
they happen to be the negative half. Because
Yeah, it's like top
Yeah.
top 5 worst scenes in RWBY, Volume 2, and it's just like, do you guys make anything positive? Like, I just
literally
like yesterday.
the last video was the top 10 best scenes from
Yeah.
volume.
Yeah, I mean,
So I actually have to be taking off now, guys. So
all right,
but
sorry,
thanks for
Steve.
having me. Yeah, I really like this episode, and
Mormon land.
I really wanted. It's called Church. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a good episode. I really hope they keep going.
oh, we got stock in the middle now.
Is that the one with 3-hour services, Mormons?
I don't know. I just know that they have.
They've got like 3-hour service and like
I know
Plenty of wives.
Pentecostals. I know Pentecostals have 3 hours.
And I know that
That's the one, Pentecost.
there's there's others. Greek Orthodox apparently has pretty long services. I knew somebody who was at least the person that I
Those
knew.
are about an hour and a half.
Catholics, I think, are like an hour and a half to 2
No,
hours, but
no,
they're like
no,
but they're like
no.
As someone who's Catholic.
No, I'm
Someone who's
Catholic.
They're between an hour or half an hour.
Yeah,
Depending
no.
on the size of the congregation.
Yeah, but depending
if it's huge, then I could see it lasting about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But
Yeah,
that's
that's-
because it takes so long to get
The
through.
big
I
thing with the Mor-
just know it's the same amount of time every time. It's been so long since I've
Oh.
it's been so long since I've
Perfect.
actually been to a mass. B, it's been I am terrible at measuring distances, whether they're distances in time or distances in space. I have no perception with stuff like that.
Okay,
Miles Luna.
Miles.
But no, I'm Catholic, and that's my Sunday job. So I play drums at my Catholic church on Sunday nights. That's why I can't do certain Sunday night stuff. And it's an hour. Sometimes it goes a little bit less. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer. If there's no music, it'll be about half an hour to 40 minutes. And if it's a really special big ass mass with a lot of stuff going on, then yeah, it could be an hour and a half. And then like the Easter vigils are like 3 hours, but almost nobody go. Well, not that many people go to those. So it's usually only about an hour.
That's the only one I go to on a regular basis.
There's also
There's also
The holiday
what's the
stuff.
other one that does really long? What's the thing that Serena Williams is? Jehovah's Witness. Their things are really long.
The only thing that's really special about the Mormons, though, is on the golden plates where the blueprints to the Browning M2 machine gun, and then the 1911. That was on the golden plates. That's what John Moses Browning had. He found the golden plates, and that's how he became popular. That's how he was successful.
Okay.
Still
I
something
don't
good.
know.
With episode.
But
No, it's true. That was on the Mormons' golden plates. That's what Mormon Jesus left behind for John Moses Browning, was those 2 designs.
Wow.
Back to the episode. Back to
Yeah,
the
back to
episode.
Ruby.
So, I'm looking for especially with so we basically got like half of the stuff in the trailer this episode.
Yes,
I'm
that's
really
true.
curious what leads up to Oscar's autistic screeching in the next episode,
Oh yeah.
and the flashback of who is obviously Ozpin, because whatever that person is.
All right. Have you
Is
ever
T-posing.
gone for a prolonged walk in the woods where you don't have an outhouse? He's just really trying really hard to not have to find a friendly tree. That's all that is.
Yellow snow, man. Yellow snow.
Oh, brown snow in this
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, and then I'm kind of changing my opinion on that monologue that we got in the trailer too. Like, I feel like it might be aimed at Cinder almost, and I kind of like the implications of like there's like a weird through line between both Adam and Cinder right now, where they're both in like a very desperate state, where like Cinder's probably just is basically like cast out. Like if she returns back to Salem, she's probably just gonna die.
For the record,
Like,
you
it's
might hear a vacuum here. Just a minute. There's a vacuum.
And then at the same time too, Adam has like tenuous control at best. Someone's gonna get sick and tired of Adam just killing fellow White Fang members. So
I think
like,
at this point he's no longer White Fang so much as
Yeah,
he
he's-
is just
He's just back to being Adam.
homicidal maniac.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's a warlord pretty much, a warlord of one. But it will be interesting though, because like I'm just curious how they're gonna play that out, because I kind of like the idea of like a desperate Cinder trying to like pick up the scraps and like come back with something.
I
And
really
she's
feel
like-
why she's cloaked is because the idea is that she died basically when she fell, but like the grim half of her took over.
Well,
She's still-
that's been
That'd
my
be interesting.
She's still in Mistral, I would assume, right?
yeah, that's
Actually,
been my
that brings
running.
question. Does Mistral just? I guess that's the snowy Alps of Mistral. I guess.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
they're
I mean,
going
this is
to
like the
northern.
underbelly. This is like the underbelly.
I mean, the snow stuff with the train stuff, that's just really high up in the mountains.
I was gonna say like, are they gonna take a boat to Atlas? Or are they going to fly to Atlas?
My
If
preferred-
not, why didn't they just
Bro, I
leave
don't
out from
know.
there?
My
Well, they're going to
joke-
Argus
my
first.
joke, yeah, my
That's
joke
right.
answer with how they get to my joke answer and how they get to Atlas is they fly to Atlas, and as soon as they hit Atlas airspace, just a Sam just flies out from Atlas and just blows up the plane, and they crash land in Mantle, and that's how it starts. But it's like I'm curious what they're gonna do with Cinder though, because like I'm a broken record though. But I do like this desperate Cinder, and I do like what seems pretty obvious that she's being like tracked down by
Yeah.
Neo, if I can even get these names straight. But
I don't.
but that's
know-
all stuff for like the second and third
I mean,
episode.
here's the thing, we don't know what the bowler hat means.
Well, no,
For
it,
all we know, they're bringing back Roman altogether. Like, I would be hyped for that.
It
Well,
is
here, best of
possible.
both-
It is
best of both
technically
worlds, best-
possible.
best of both worlds, because like someone has actually in our Discord has actually brightened the image, a screenshot, and that's how we knew it was Cinder. But there's a parasol and then that bowler hat, and it's like we can get the best of both worlds here. We can have like Neo having like like a little breakdown, so you hear Roman's voice like in her head and stuff like that, or she's like reflecting it somehow.
Neo.
Yeah, so like Neo Neo takes Roman's personality.
Jacket, Neo.
Oh, hey,
I mean, basically, because because Neo could adopt Roman's personality, and stuff like that. She could just like kind of take it over. Because we know she is a voice actress. We know she does have a VA.
One thing I do like though is they added closed captions in on the episodes now. Thank God. Thank God they have closed captions now.
I know my roommate was pretty happy about that.
But yeah, no, that would actually be cool where like they bring back Roman's voice actor and just Roman's just talking inside her head. And they don't even need Neo to talk. We're just gonna have Roman just sitting there whispering
Roman's
sweet.
voice actor, isn't that great?
It is great.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
So you can spare like one or two. You can spare like one or two lines, but then like Neo would be because she knows she has a VA, so
yeah,
you can actually start talking.
Because the thing is,
Neo.
yeah, like fully.
Neo, I'm here for my obligatory cameo. Neo. And that's all we hear.
Dude, he starts like freaking just hanging out in her mind the way that Joker is in Batman's mind during Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I just imagine like she occasionally just goes into her own mind. He's just there on a couch, just kind of reading a magazine. What's up? And that's it. That's it. He's just there.
Just has a cigar, and it's just like.
Because I wouldn't want him to be.
By the way, we're out of milk in the fridge. He kind of looks at him confused.
Because I wouldn't want him to be fully brought back, to be honest, just because I don't see a place for him anymore. It would be, and I like the consequences of him actually dying.
He
and all of
kills
that.
Cinder, becomes the Spring Maiden, the Fall Maiden. Sorry. Neo becomes the new Salem, and we actually have competent villains for once.
So my ongoing theory with my ongoing like headcanon with Cinder is that like by the end of this series she's going to be an eldritch tentacle monster by the end of the series. Because that's the I had two scenarios of like how Cinder survived her fall, and they're simple. Is one, she like sucked off just a little bit of Raven's power, and that's what she used to survive to sustain herself. or the Grim Arm is just like, well, I'm just gonna eat more you now because I want to survive, and that's that.
Yeah, no, that is my running theory, and honestly, if she became a horrifying tentacle monster, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome,
And-
actually.
Well, I
And I
mean,
like
wait a second.
I draw artists a reason to draw more, but I mean,
Well, wait a second, because like her arm kind of like has like that Nuklavi arm thing going on. So it's like, what if like Salem's punishment to her turns her into that Eldritch monster? So you get all those fucking arms from the intro.
What if it's ultimately that's what is at the end of the season is that tentacle monster in the mines is Cinder.
That would be awesome.
Like, that would be
man.
amazing.
That would be so cool. I would be 100%
Like,
down for that.
Every volume, or I'm sorry, every 3 volumes is supposed to be a season, at least how the first 3 were structured.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would be the capstone to this. That this is the end of Cinder's arc, where she becomes this basically mindless Shogoth that the team has to finally kill off.
You would get
That'd be
Eldritch
great.
Horror, you would get RWBY actually having to use her powers again.
And then the other, like, even with the plot, like the other idea where she absorbed like a fraction of Raven's maiden powers, that also puts into effect too, where like if Raven dies, then she's gonna get the full maiden powers. But at this point, it doesn't matter if Raven dies because the relic's just out and about, like it's just sitting there. It's a fucking lamp. I also really want them to do a joke where it's like, hey, we're looking for this item, and then Ren just like puts on a lampshade over the vase, and it's like, what item are you talking about? That's just a lamp. It doesn't even.
That would be fucking.
I would be yes, I would.
That would be funny.
They're literally lampshading a plot device.
That'd be awesome.
I can't talk to you right now.
That would be so good.
Oh god.
I mean, they like. I get pretty good at like, cause I called a lot of what happened in Volume 4. I was Nostradamus for Volume 4.
You
It
were
was kind of scary. I don't have enough information to start making good calls though, but there is a lot. I feel like the main thing for this is we're gonna have like 3, technically 4 arcs where we're gonna have Team RWBY, whatever Team Junior gets up to, and then I think the bad guys, which we could probably roll mainly Cinder and Adam into, is gonna be like whatever they are doing off screen.
Well,
So I
you
think
got
those
stuff-
will be the main like 3 plot point, like 3 like storylines that are gonna be going on during this volume.
I think it's a good number because I mean there is like the Emerald Tyrion stuff, but I think that's probably a small part. So like, because we don't want them to like go into too many like story arcs, because I think that's like something Volume 4 suffered at the very beginning, even though that was like the best volume, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
I don't.
You don't want
it's-
to have
yeah.
too many arcs.
I'm just curious of the scope of this volume right now is what I'm really curious about. So
Oh,
That's
here
just
you're just
what-
casually dismantling a
Yeah.
block.
Yes.
Well,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like a lock. It's an HKP 2000.
Okay, look, I'm not good at.
He's a gun fanatic.
Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah, this
Dude,
is high power.
did I not
He's
tell
good.
you?
Wait,
Did
is that the sibling gun to the P99 or P90?
It is in the same family. The P99 is a Walther though, but Walther and HK for a while were basically the same company. A lot of people who worked at Walther and HK, a lot of people who worked at HK also worked at Walther for periods of time. So there's like a lot of crossover between the two. And Walther existed first as a firearms company. HK got into building firearms because they built a lot of machine tools. That's actually how a lot of firearm companies start, is they build the machine tools to make the guns.
I'm fascinated. I'm honestly fascinated, but we're getting way off topic.
Well,
welcome to our podcast again.
well, Ruby would love this discussion right now.
Ruby would love this. I in all honesty, like that's the reason why. I've been using this guy. I've been going back and forth for my mech novel. He's been helping me out because he knows all the firearm shit. And I love firearms. I'm not very savvy at it.
Yeah, high power is your guy for yeah.
I mean, his
High
name
power is your
literally,
guy.
his name is literally comes from a gun. So,
Yeah.
But so I'm kind of curious though. I kind of hope we get a cutaway to Atlas. What could be interesting though for Team Junior's arc is we get Winter joining up with Team Junior to go back and like roll up to like extract Team RWBY. Maybe.
You see,
I
still
would've thought-
Winter is a traitor.
you think what?
I think Winter's a traitor.
Really?
Can you explain? That's actually really fascinating. Can you actually
Yeah,
go
can you
further
explain?
into that? Because that's like
learned who Roman's source was for the Paladins, and in fact, she's the only one that seems to have access to all of those things, but also possible motivation against all of Atlas. In fact, she might have strong motivation against the Schnee Dust Company for all we know.
huh.
We know relatively little about Winter when you get down.
No, it's
to it.
true. She
And
does
the
love her
way
sister.
she
That's
treats
basically all we.
people like Weiss, she could be trying to kind of call Weiss into something of a rebel
Yeah.
because she helped her rebel against her father. We don't know exactly her relation with Ironwood. It doesn't. I mean, they have a respectful relationship, but like we got so little about her, and I'm just wondering what her point was outside of setting her up for something bigger.
And I mean, you could argue too that if Ironwood ever dies, I mean, for what we know, Winter would be the one that would take his place, because she's his right-hand woman.
So, and we haven't seen her. We haven't seen her at all in the opening credits or anything like that. So I don't know if she's going to show up this volume.
Yeah,
Lord knows this volume's already going to be dragging enough because they're not just getting to Atlas, they're just traveling to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
so what's everyone's opinion on the over/under if they're actually going to make it to Atlas by this volume?
It's gonna probably end on them going to Atlas, not actually arriving at Atlas.
I don't know. I'm tempted to call this is going to be RWBY Volume 4 Part 2.
That's what I was thinking.
Or is it 2.0, I would say, because like
Basically.
it seems like all the things that were wrong with like all the things that were good about Volume 4, and then taking away all the bad things from Volume 4.
my opinion,
Namely the separate Blake arc.
I think my other opinion too is like they're taking like the really good stuff out of Volume 3, and they're kind of like pouring it into this Volume 2 also, and combining it with the Kool-Aid that was Volume 4. Like they're just mixing it in just a little bit. They're making some swamp juice.
Yeah, that's my take on things. I don't know if they'll make it or not. My gut says they're going to wind up there by the end of the volume. I am hoping they will make it there before the end of the volume.
Would you prefer an Atlas intervention? Like, as in Atlas is just like they roll out the special forces and just grab them and then just carry them back?
I don't want to. I do not want to breach repeat. I do not want to breach repeat.
No, I don't want that. I want.
Yeah, because little breach, from Volume 2 is just
breach. I said that breach. I'm like, what the fuck does a decent Halo game have to do with anything?
Nothing. that's a good thing on its own. But no, I was talking about breach. My apologies if I didn't enunciate very well.
Yeah, no, breach. Oh god, unless we talk about that, the better. God,
yeah, that's why I do not want to repeat
that damn thing.
Yeah, which by the way is fucking amazing. You should probably show that out.
Yeah, that's mainly my big curiosity is like, what is the actual like scope of this volume going to be, and then like the other thing too is like the end game. So Volume 4's end game was clear. It's like get to Mistral. Volume 5 end game was do something with a relic, although like it was terrible. So I'm curious what like the end game is for this volume is what is the end goal that they
say that things are constantly happening in this volume, that they're just like constantly pushing things forward, which is a good sign.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just I don't know what to expect. Like for all we know, they could be an Atlas by the end of the 3rd episode, and we just because I just kind of skim over things. The structure of this volume hasn't been laid out. The trailer doesn't give us any hint because the trailer probably has only up through the 3rd episode in it.
Yeah, that's what's usually the case for the trailers. So
typically it's the first 2 though.
Yeah.
So,
last Volume 5 it was the first 2, and then like a sliver of 3, and
I don't think they even had a sliver of 3.
Yeah, no, it was the first 2. But. And I mean, I'm just curious too of like, like everyone's money. It's like, oh, Grandma with the woke goggles is a silver-eyed warrior, which would be cool. I also joked too that she might be a distant relative of like RWBY, as in like a member of the Rose family. Who knows?
I thought she was gonna be
cool
a distant relative of Katara, but
But I'm also like, if she's a silver-eyed warrior, but if she's like, her village is like shaman or whatever. That's cool, but then you also got to think about too. In the case of this universe, to get that old is a feat in itself.
This is true.
That lady's probably been around like since the Great War, and probably before that. Hell, she might have even fought in the Great War.
Yep.
So, I mean,
it was back when I had pupils. I miss my pupils.
I
Has
miss
anyone seen my pupils?
I see what you did there.
Well, I mean, like in all honesty, it's like she could be. I mean, I'm worried they're just gonna use this grandma as like an exposition dump. Like she's just gonna open her mouth and just be like, "I'm gonna drop knowledge bombs on y'all." Which, I mean, learning more about the show and the world is cool, but it kind of cheapens the character. So it's just a curiosity because I feel like whenever I feel like they introduce a new character, like they have a very limited scope because most of the new characters that have been introduced are dead. Like we got Vernal, she's dead. We got a whole bunch of other new characters that only show up once, and that's the one thing I praise Volume 4 about is these cool one-off characters that are just there to add like flavor and variety to the show. Like the waitress lady was cool. I like the boat captain and his,
brown co-captain, first mate.
The boat captain who's high on Ambien and listening to Purple Haze in his cabin.
Yeah, I didn't mind the Mook characters we got this episode either. Like at least we have.
Yeah, the Mook characters are great too. It just adds like flavor and variety. It adds more depth to the show. It makes it feel more lived in.
I was gonna ask, I haven't gone back to watch the episode again. But did that guy ever actually take a shot at anything?
Yes.
Oh, he was shooting.
Yes, he was shooting. Yes, he was shooting.
I don't think he hit anything though.
For the first half of his scenes, he wasn't doing jack shit.
No, he was shooting. He was shooting while the turret was shooting. You could see him shooting when, like, I think it's either Crow or Oscar goes up.
The turret was putting more forward.
Yeah, but he was shooting at stuff. Yes.
And his gun is actually modeled after a takedown Marlin lever action rifle.
Yeah, I actually did with that. Although I mean, like, was it anything else? Like I've been noticing ever since Monty passed away, they really haven't invented any new weapons.
There was that mace from that like electric mace the other guy.
Vernal's weapons were cool.
Yeah,
I personally thought
they were some of the most jank weapons in the world. Like, okay, I have a laser cannon on this gun, but it also doubles as a throwing chakram. Why would you need a throwing weapon if you already have a fucking laser cannon?
Style points.
It doesn't have a lot of battery in it. Actually, whenever I saw the beam weaponry happen with Vernal's weapon, it's like we haven't seen beam weaponry like in this series, so it is pretty cool that we see. Oh wait, have we? Where?
The black trailer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We literally had a giant fuck off laser robot.
Fire my laser.
Yeah, I can't think of the last like really interesting new weapon we've seen since.
I liked frickin' what's his name's dueling disc.
The dual disc.
Lionheart's little.
I think that was better in concept than they did on. Delivery.
Yeah, I didn't like
awful.
Yeah, I did not like the execution of the dual disc. I think we just like it because it's a dual disc.
Believe in the Lionheart of the cards.
A weaponized buckler.
He's using his revolutionary new dual disc system. Trademark.
Now stand still while I draw my hand.
It's time to do it.
Oh no, I'm out of cards.
It's time to Deus Ex Machina.
Pretty much.
So what's y'all's opinion? So what do you think the over/under is on the blonde lady in the OP is Salem?
Well, yeah, it's like
I think that's pretty high.
Yeah, I've already given Robert. That was my theory.
I thought it might be Glinda, because that looks recent. Unless Salem can disguise herself.
I mean, true. So this is just my opinion. I kind of like the idea that like I'm of the opinion that Ozpin and Salem are just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I also do like the idea that at one point in time they might have been lovers or involved with each other, and then that could help explain Salem's hate and disgust for.
Well, I mean, genocide's a different thing. I know, like Unicorn War is like, hey, you don't
Suck.
like.
Suck.
Oh, sorry.
1 minute. I need to look at the maidens. do you think Salem might have been a maiden?
Maybe, perhaps.
Definitely
Maybe,
possible.
yeah.
I think we've.
I mean, it's
Haven't we had theories before on her being like the Winter Maiden or something like that? I thought that was.
Yeah, look at the Winter Maiden's design.
oh yeah, the hair design. Yeah.
Yeah, because the hair design's similar. Yeah, that's what. I know this has been brought up before. I don't know.
Wasn't that? Didn't you do that in RWBY Beyond where Salem was like a maiden, was one of the first maidens or something? Yeah, no, I see the through line there.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe like Salem like gave away her powers or something in exchange for all the grim tentacle stuff. I mean, who knows? Like she could have been, or that
Or she
might have
still
been
has
why
her,
she
or she still has the maiden powers. Who knows?
or
You don't
that
know.
might be the way she is. She already has a hold of one relic, and that's how she's been twisted and corrupted like that by using, the relic's power.
I
So-
still don't know why she would go with the spider butt hair though.
No, I don't know if anybody
Seems
knows.
like a weird choice.
It is.
I like it. I really
can
like it.
only I
Well,
can
it's
only
because
imagine
she's trying to outdo Natalie Portman in the Star Wars movies. That's why.
Yes, waifu.
I'm much more for this Salem.
Yeah,
That's really fucking cute. I love it.
Like honestly, I find children more intimidating than Salem.
yeah. Well, they can easily. They're at like the perfect height to just stab you in your thigh.
God damn it, Neo!
No, I don't.
Bring it back around.
Yeah,
It's
they didn't do a great job of making Salem actually scary. I remember but again, that's a problem from other volumes, not this volume so far. So
I want to point this out too. Also, I don't know if you've noticed this, Celtic Phoenix, but if you look on Salem's hand in the episode, she's got a ring on that looks like a little tick, and that's where a lot of like the whole veiny things expand out from. If you notice, I think the best shot of that was in like volume 4, and I think there's a shot or two in volume 5 of that little ring that she has. I think it might even be in the OP in this episode, in this volume 2.
Luckily, the wikis have image galleries, so this might help.
yeah.
Keyword there.
She has like a brooch thing on her wrist.
Yeah, she's got like a brooch, and then she has a ring too also, where a lot of the evil veins spider web out, but that's neither here nor there. I'm kind of curious what like they plan on doing with Emerald and Mercury now since Cinder's gone.
Well, that's a new animation error.
What was going on?
In volume 4, there's back and forth shots of Salem talking to Cinder, and when you're facing Salem from Cinder's perspective, you can see the ring on her right hand. But then when you look at from Salem's perspective, there is no ring on her right hand.
Nice.
That's
Well done.
That's weird. It probably got fixed in post-production or something like that.
Volume 5.
Oh, hello.
What?
That was probably media. Yeah, it's probably media. He'll probably be back. I saw.
Just leave?
No, media was setting something up. I was watching him. No, I think High Powered's taking a vape break.
I'm actually taking a bathroom break.
Oh, well, cool.
Take it in with you?
He's wearing a wireless headset.
If I start hearing noises.
No, he uses
I've specifically made sure to mute it, but I've left it on purpose sometimes just to shit post, both in a literal and figurative sense. Uh-oh. I think Media's mic isn't working right now, so he's trying to fix some technical difficulties.
I was wondering.
I mean, there's a lot of potential whenever it comes to... Like, I feel like they have the opportunity to, like, kind of explore stuff, because this volume's kind of pretty fresh, as in, like, its setting and everything, too, also, because they're shifting areas, the whole team's back, like, it's basically a refresh. And that was one of the things I've said too, is like, especially like with volume, like from going to volume 5 to volume 6, like if they kind of like do a soft reset, since now that everyone's pretty much back together and they've got a new area to go in, they've kind of got a fresher canvas to work with.
Okay, I think I fixed it.
Yeah, I see you now. Yep, 10-4.
Okay, so my phone died, and I knew it was dying, so I tried setting up my iPad, but the Wi-Fi with my iPad wasn't working, and you guys were all like robotic on my end, and so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna fire up Discord on my computer, but then for some reason it changed my voice settings to my headset mic, which, as you can see, is not there.
Oh wait, so is media actually back?
Yeah, he's back.
So I actually have another question for everybody. How much do you think RWBY just telling everybody to table the discussion on the relic attracting Grimm? How much is that her still being in Ozpin's pocket, and how much is that her just being a good leader?
Half and half.
I want to believe it's because she realizes that there's bigger fish to fry at that moment. But my gut instinct, my initial interaction, my initial thought on that was, oh please, God, no. I don't want her to defend Ozpin on this.
Because that's just gonna boost the Rose Garden shippers.
Well, see, because here's the thing, it's one of those situations where it's something that could be very scary for us watching it the first time through, but if you watch it through the second time, it's just awesome. So there are types of plot lines like that. So in some ways, the most comfortable, the easiest for us to view right now would just be that she's only tabling the discussion. But something that if they did it the right way, something that I think could be really good is if she is actually still overly loyal to Ozpin, and something happens that breaks that, and her losing that trust and dealing with that would be amazing to see. That would be awesome. I would love to actually see that happen, because they haven't.
Her killing Ozpin would be amazing.
Yes, her having to kill Ozpin would be amazing. She's never had to do anything like that in this show at all. Nothing even close to that. She's never had that sad of a moment, or that she's never been betrayed like that. That has never happened to her, and I would love to see that happen. So in some ways, if they lead it to that, because it'd be scary, because I don't want it to be her defending Ozpin, and then Ozpin ends up being right, and she all convinces them that Ozpin, even if he's screwed up, is still a good guy. That would be terrible. I would not want that. But if it was she tries to defend him and then eventually is betrayed, and everybody else is right that Ozpin is terrible, and she has to kill him or do anything against him, that would be amazing. So it would be kind of scary to know which one they're going to go with. But if they went with the right one, that would be awesome, and I would give them so much credit for that, and I would really enjoy that.
I just realized, do you have a Kana Kamui Figma?
I have Kana, and I have I'm waiting for Kobayashi as well, because Dragon Maid is amazing.
It is amazing. But why don't you have Toru?
Huh? Oh, sorry. I'm waiting for. I don't have Kobayashi because I didn't have a Kobayashi one yet. I'm waiting for I am waiting for a Toru one, the Toru one. Because the problem is, I'm actually comfortably in a relationship. I don't need the overly anime bait stuff. So notice I have the Kana in the actual Kana outfit, not in the swimsuit. And I had to wait for
a swimsuit one.
I believe there is. I believe there is, because I've been waiting for the figures forever, so I keep having to look it up. And yeah, there is. And I've been waiting for a Toru one. They've released 2 different Toru ones in swimsuits before they finally released the pre-order for her in her actual Dragon Maid outfit. I've been having
as I've gotten old. I used to be way okay with the over sexualization in anime. But the older I've gotten, the more I realize, okay, yeah, no, this is starting to get really creepy. I can understand why people have issues with it.
Yeah, I've never.
As a teenager watching anime, and there's teenagers also getting sexualized. I'm like, I'm a teenager.
Yeah. No, exactly. It makes sense at that point.
Now I'm 25 years old, and looking at a 16-year-old in a swimsuit kind of has implications.
Yeah. So now it's I still like the shows for the other great. I still enjoy Dragon Maid and stuff like that, but I want what the characters actually look like in the show, which is still sometimes too much, but it's still less. The one of Toru in just the maid outfit with the dragon tail is fine. That's what she looks like in the show.
Yeah.
That's the one I want.
Ravioli.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't lewd the dragon.
I mean, if you notice, I have a lot more of like Nichijou stuff, which is made by the same studio as what's it called? Dragon Maid.
It's Kyoto.
Kyoto Animation, yeah, and that one's great because it's still adorable and slice of life and cute and funny as hell. It's actually even funnier, and there's no baiting at all. It's great.
I couldn't get it. Like I watched like the first 10 episodes of Nichijou. Just I couldn't make it. Okay, all right. Look,
All right.
you son of a bitch. Makoto is fucking awesome.
So here's the problem. They had a cooler one at the con that I went to, where like her lower half, like to her mid thighs, was clear because of my active camouflage, and they sold out of that one.
Well, of course.
Like I couldn't even buy the display one, and I was like throwing down $100 bills. It's like I will buy that one. Just cash on the table.
Well, now you can dedicate that extra money to my Patreon.
No. Well, here's the thing though. I've had that for forever. That was before I even became a Patreon of you, and like I'm kind of broke AF right now.
Oh.
I've got enough money for rent and alcohol and bills.
Yeah, so like all that stuff that's going on, and people are calling for like RWBY have a swimsuit episode. But you know,
Can we please not?
Yeah.
well, we already had that with the joke with Red.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go. That
I'm okay with that. I'm okay
that
with
was the swimsuit episode.
But no, back on topic with like, what were we talking about RWBY wise?
Oh well, it was
like the old.
her defending
like...
her defending Ozpin versus and what would happen with that. That was the last thing we talked about.
I don't think I think she's still hard in Ozpin's camp, and I think that she'll weasel her way out of it.
Yeah, I feel like once the secrets start being like, once the skeletons in the closet start falling out.
This was a good start. This was a really good start with.
Exactly.
Oh, you didn't tell us that the thing we're carrying is basically like a fucking Grim magnet.
It's a fucking beacon.
Yeah,
It's like we would have walked if that was the case. Okay, another fair question too. What is so every girl in Team RWBY has been injured in a way, shape, or form, except Ruby. Well, you can count the mental damage from Penny's death. I have I would bet money that Ruby's actually going to get hurt, like take noticeable damage this volume.
The big thing for me is if my theory about the Silver Eyes goes true, her losing a little bit of her vision when she has to pull out the Silver Eyes would be a nice touch. Like, and actually really detrimental to her because she's a sniper.
Sniper and a speedster. You kind of need everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a lot. So that she has to work around vision impairment. And it'd be kind of like, because they did a really cool thing with the shot with John supercharging Ren's semblance. That overshot where they pan through the entire train.
Yeah,
that was really well done. Yeah, that was really well done. The cinematography was pitch perfect for that. So like them getting creative with camera angles and perception would be really cool. So that when RWBY is seeing things, you have a tunnel vision effect.
Someone smeared Vaseline over the screen.
No, less that and more like the edges of the screen are blurrier. And so it's harder for her to make things out on the corners of her vision. She loses some of her
busy.
Which doesn't. Oh,
sorry.
She doesn't hurt her in the long run. It hurts her in the long run, but she can manage it. But the more she uses her power, we actually have a tangible threat to her using her power too much.
Yes, I agree.
A shot that I
like that idea.
A shot that I really like too was whenever the train derails, and how it's done at like a very low frame rate. It reminds me of whenever like you would see in those old school movies where they would use the miniatures as a mock-up whenever they would do those sorts of shots. I really liked it. I know the frame rate was chugging on it, but then it brings you back to like a lot of those old action movies where it's like, we're not actually going to crash a real train, but we can crash a model train and make it look really fucking good though.
That reminds me of like at least this time we actually got to see the train fucking crash unlike the last time we had a train. Well, sorry, the last time we had an action fight on a train. In Volume 2.
I do appreciate that we did have like the whole like ear rigging like cut to black thing too. Also, that's extremely overdone. It's like everyone's concussed. We'll show off everyone being concussed by loud ear breaking rings. Is it a little too early for Irish whiskey? I don't think so.
You're asking the wrong person for that. One, I don't drink, and two, I am Irish, so I mean, like.
I mean, I don't know what the answer is then.
Yeah, it's like you're a conundrum.
The answer is yes. It is too early, because you're technically also late. You should always be drinking it.
Wait, because Media doesn't drink. Sock, do you drink at all?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, you do. Okay, so there's 3 of us that do. I wasn't sure, because I remember I found out.
And it's not like I don't drink. I just don't do it recreationally.
Robert doesn't drink either.
Yeah.
For my opening of RWBY, Fixing RWBY Volume 2, that amount I poured was actually real. And I measured it later, and it was roughly 2.5 shots of vodka going down at once. That was the most I'd ever drunk in my life at one shot.
Oh, that's a good first impression.
Yeah, that was
You're like, yeah, sure.
Hey, you gotta break your alcohol tolerance to increase it.
No, basically.
Yeah, I drink, but not that often, and not too much either. But I do.
Dude. You know what? Okay. Like the episode where Crow dies, you know what I'm bringing for my intro, right?
Oh,
alcohol,
flask.
No, sake.
He's dead. You and your fucking sock puns. I swear to God.
I used to drink on the show, on this podcast, when we did it later in the evening. But since we're not doing that anymore, I can't anymore.
Yeah, mornings are weird.
But that was one of the few times I did actually drink was on this podcast. Especially when it was Volume 5 and it was just so bad I had to drink away the pain.
I don't think we really have like much more. Like we're kind of just
because we're back
about because we're only at episode 1. We can't.
Yeah,
really,
there's less to interweave and like talk about in relation to other stuff usually we're complaining about a bunch of stuff. Like that's what a lot of our longest podcasts when we're complaining a lot about how bad.
Barely at 2 hours.
Barely
at 2 hours.
There's not.
Barely at 2 hours?
No, we're not at 2 hours. Yeah, we're at on mine. We're at 1:42. We're at 1 hour 42 minutes. Because there's not. There's not this.
Going from when I did the introduction.
This was a good episode. Like, there's not as much to talk about because we're not nitpicking, complaining about everything because we're not angry overall. Like, overall, we're happy. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I mean,
we'll find one eventually.
It's just like it feels good to be excited about RWBY again. Honestly, it really does. Like, I remember
this gives me hope for Genlock and my plan to go into that as hopelessly optimistic as possible.
You see, I'm going to give Genlock a big pass because I'm a big mecha fan. There are other people on this podcast who I will name names, does not like mecha.
Yeah,
and
so we'll see.
I think another reason to be like excited for Genlock 2 is that what's his name's like production company is also working on it at the same time.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Also a voice. Isn't he a voice in it too?
He's the main character.
I'm excited for not Sombra. That's what I'm excited for.
I mean, Black Panther was overrated, but he did do a very good job as Killmonger. So there is that. I did like him as that character. I thought he did a very good job.
There was something I wanted to bring up before.
While you think about it,
I know we are going to be podcasting Genlock. I know that because it picks up right when RWBY ends, so we are going to still be doing that.
The old lady, his name's like Maria Calvera or something like that.
Yeah, Moscatara.
Yeah,
Moscatara.
Yeah. Moscatara.
Yeah. Is there any significance, like other time names have had significance in what they mean?
Well, yes.
As in Vernal literally being summer or spring or whatever.
Yeah,
spring.
It was just another name for spring.
That
was setting our expectations again. So like, oh yeah, she's the spring maiden, and then when that eventually got flipped on us,
I mean, I'll admit they did fool me. I did think she was the Spring Maiden.
It's weird because like I didn't realize people pointed this out that I called Raven being the Spring Maiden.
Did you really?
I called it like back in episode 3, but then by the end of the season, I was kind of.
You were doubting yourself. You were doubting yourself.
I wasn't just doubting myself. I completely forgot I called that.
I mean,
That's
the pronoun
funny.
game that they play, that Raven and Crow played in Volume 4, makes a whole lot more sense now.
Well,
I
Crow's
mean-
yes.
It doesn't make sense because the pronoun game should never make sense.
True, I agree with that.
Pronoun game is one of the like I have to catch myself as a writer because it's such an easy trope to fall into. It'd be like, no. These characters, they can reference proper nouns, and the best part about it is when you reference proper nouns, you can still sometimes make it mysterious.
Yeah.
Because characters oftentimes are talking about things that they have personal information about, and can but the audience doesn't. So. That's my piece.
I agree.
think I'm chatted out. What about you guys?
No, I think
we
we can wrap up final thoughts and
media, you're not coming through.
yeah, media, you're not. Media.
But,
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
There we go.
Now he's gone again.
No, he wasn't talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now we can.
10-4.
And now he's
That
gone.
solves that problem.
Oh, Heidi.
I'm sorry. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know what to say. Meow.
Yar har fiddledee dee.
Hi-yo.
Being a pirate is alright to be. Do what you want, 'cause a pirate is free. You
You
are a pirate.
are a pirate.
You're a pirate. You know, the first time I actually heard that was in one of Little Karibo's videos.
Oh god.
Well, since media's trying to get his stuff figured out, to do my final thoughts.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the first episode. I think it had some minor pacing issues, at the middle chunk of the episode. But other than that, good episode. It was fun. I mean, I'm glad to be back on this wild ride that is RWBY and being a part of this autistic fandom, which is the RWBY fandom. I love it. It's great.
The for me, when it comes to RWBY, it kind of goes in waves where the first volume is typically in 3 volume waves. You have the first volume, which is typically kind of messy, but overall enjoyable. Then you get the second one, which is garbage and just a complete mess. Then you have the third one, which kind of refines it and makes it enjoyable over a longer stretch of time. Even if there's a lot of failings in there, ultimately it winds up probably being the most satisfying. And then Volume 4 was the same as 1, Volume 5 was the same as 2, and now hopefully Volume 6 follows in that
That's
same
really
pattern.
wow. That's actually that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's how I've always seen the series, where it just that second one, just the second volume of each set is just shit. So,
It had such a good start too.
I think I'm backing. I think I'm backing good as we're wrapping this up. I can hear you guys fine the entire time. It's just my iPad was getting really laggy.
Yeah.
So
All right.
ultimately, I'm liking this volume. Rooster Teeth, keep up the fucking momentum. You can do it. You can do it. It's just gonna take.
Do it all right.
Yes.
All right, media, it's your turn.
So this is going to be the thesis of my review. This is exactly what RWBY should have been from the outset.
Exactly.
Every time I've talked about it should have been Creature of the Week, it should have been more character centric instead of relying on the overall plot. This is what I was talking about. This is what I wanted from the series as early as Volume 1. It's a shame that we're just now getting this, but we're getting this, and I try to judge seasons or volumes on their own merits. Otherwise the show as a whole would never rebound from really the first volume, but Volume 5 especially.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying to take this as it is. I have hope. I'm not getting my hopes up too far because I also really dug the first episode of Volume 5, and we all know how that turned out. But yeah, this is just I have other like minor nitpicks, like Garrett Hunter still sounds like he's using text to speech for his lines when he's not screaming. Blake, it's I feel like I just have an ear for this, but it's been sounding like Aaron Zek has been literally phoning it in since around Volume 3. She went from being one of the better voice actors in volumes 1 and 2 to being one of the worst. It's but back to the positives. It's clear from this episode, and even more so from the opening, actually, that they're putting the effort in. They realize that they need to actually improve and move the show forward if they're going to maintain their audience.
Gotta have all those first subscribers.
Which I think, and High Powered is the one who brought up this question several podcasts ago. How many people like dropped out of first memberships after Volume 5 ended? How many people? How much money were they losing? Like how did their other shows like decline in viewership? Like to what extent because of Volume 5? Like how much did Volume 5 make in the merchandising realms compared to other volumes? Like,
I know me personally, I didn't watch anything on Rooster Teeth after Volume 5.
Because nothing will wake a studio up more than hitting their bottom line hard.
Yeah. Because I remember...
Unless you're Warner Brothers, in which case you just double down and keep doing the same thing you've been doing for the last 10 years.
Yeah, and that was just something that I brought up too. It's like they probably stall like because they brought this up in podcast, and I'll be quick about this. How they judge the success of a show is by how many like people pick up a first subscription. That is their general barometer that they use to judge how good a show is like internally. And the first membership is something they could bring to their shareholders and say like, look, these people just throw money at us every month, so keep investing. And so whenever that starts to shrink, then that makes everyone start to sweat. So I'm done there. And so yeah. I think it's
well, I know for me personally, I didn't watch anything until we had to do the Chibi podcast, and then I finally watched Chibi. I didn't watch anything from Rooster Teeth after Volume 5. I was so jaded, and I didn't buy anything from them. I didn't interact with Rooster Teeth in any way after Volume 5. And not out of spite. Like, I wasn't because I'm trying to get revenge on them. It's just because I was so jaded. I just didn't care. So that's a good point. And now I'm kind of back on the hype train. So yeah, for me, I was very pleasantly surprised with this volume because I was worried that it was sort of all downhill from here. Because even when they talk about, I know they did realize a lot of the mistakes they made when you hear Miles talk, during the break. And so, but I wasn't really ready for that. Yeah, the Renora intro, yes. I have expectations now. But the best part is the characters actually taking agency, being characters. There's a lot of good signs. It's not just that this episode was good. It's I like this more than the Volume 5 intro. I liked it more than the Volume 4 the first episode of Volume 5. I liked it more than the first episode of Volume 4. So hopefully it's not just a one and done, just the beginning is good like with Volume 5. Because also there's a lot of good hints at future things. With Volume 5, it was less so. It's just like it was good right now. There's potential for good things to happen. This one, they're kind of actually hinting at stuff that would be really good to happen. So I'm glad to be cautiously optimistic right now, and at least I definitely enjoyed this episode overall. I'm very happy about that. So it's good to be happy about RWBY. I know people who have watched our podcast for a while, we're used to us just shitting on everything. It feels nice.
The positive one here, okay?
It feels nice to not. But yeah, but you shat on Chibi more than anybody else, actually.
It wasn't funny.
No, it wasn't
funny.
But
I can't do anything about that.
It's nice to be positive about RWBY again. It feels great. Feels good, man. Feels very good.
I'm just, as I said, like I was like the whole hiatus was like really hard, especially with like all the toxicity and like the fandom that I've been reading, witnessed, and like even in a lot of Discord chats. It's just like it really hurts me because I want to be happy about this show. I want to enjoy it with other people, and and then but just arguing over certain things, just like it's pointless after like 6 months. It's like, come on, stop. It's like you have like you can't we're like we can't get anywhere if all we're doing is talking about like the terrible stuff. It's like, yeah, there's some good stuff, but it's just hopefully Volume 6 should be a great ride though, regardless.
I think I know the reason why they improved so much. It's not because of the first subscriptions, but it's because Fat Man Foley himself said that if RWBY Volume 6 is as bad as Volume 5 was, he would drop the show.
And if Fat Man brings a lot of people with his reviews, or even just like your guys' like reactions, like to RWBY and like My Hero stuff is really good. So
yeah,
it brings a lot of people.
The reactions to RWBY are our biggest videos I think to date, aside from our mainline reviews. But yeah, overall, I'm cautiously optimistic. They could still fuck it up. There's plenty of time for that. They've got 13 more episodes to go. But I'm all for this. I'm happy to see RWBY finally acting like what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
All right, it's shilling time, guys.
Shilling time.
So if you like this video and you want to hear me talk in a more scripted manner, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Consider supporting me on Patreon. I don't. Oh, and read RWBY on Home because it's gonna end in the next like year. God, I have I have less than 30 chapters to write, but it takes so long to write a single.
I love
chapter.
how that like feels like not like you're acting like that's not that much.
Well, I used to do a chapter a day.
I know you're crazy, dude.
Like for a long time, for over a year, I was doing a chapter a day.
How long were the chapters? How many words?
When I was doing a chapter a day, there were between 1,500 and 3,000 words.
Pretty good.
That's still a lot,
now,
yeah, for a day.
But now with RWBY on Home, because it's so much more episodic, and the chapters are much more like isolated incidents that all like lead into bigger plot stuff, in character arcs and stuff. But I have like 5,000 word minimum. 5,000 word minimum for those chapters. So anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000.
My average chapter length, by the looks of things, is 10,000.
It's a heavy number.
Yeah,
but it's a good number. I like those big chapters, like those big chapters.
Yeah, I try to like just pack a whole bunch of stuff into one.
Those are closer to like actual book length chapters.
Yeah.
No.
He's an author.
This is from my actual book that I'm writing.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense then. There we go. Okay.
You can redefine book length chapters. I mean, if you read a Dan Brown novel,
well, yeah.
Page a chapter.
Anyway, yeah,
that's
no,
I know.
A Dan Brown novel.
That's all I'm going to shill. And if I drop out in the middle of talking or while you guys are talking, just know that my phone is dead and I have no other mic to talk into.
All right. I have nothing to shill, so.
You can check out my channel, Celtic Phoenix Productions. I do a lot of different things like fixing RWBY, though I imagine there's a lot of bleed over between the viewer bases here.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so if you haven't checked that out already, go ahead and check it out. I just released an entirely new video on Kingdom Hearts 2. Again, check out my book on Amazon, Forged Within Flame. It's a collection of interconnected short stories. If you're a fan of shipping in any way, shape, or form, you'll enjoy that. Trust me. It's a lot of just cute romance and
horrible,
angsty romance.
I'm a shipper, so you got my attention.
And finally, you can support me on Patreon. Any donation of $1 or more gets you into our localized Discord for Team Frostbite, which is me, Fat Man, Tom, and British Ninja, who we all work together.
I need to do that next time I have a little bit of money.
Yeah, and I mean, we would love to have you in there. And finally, if you donate an extra certain amount of sum, not going to name numbers, but the lists are on there on the Patreon. You can kidnap me for a brief period of time, like High Powered has. For instance. Which is
He just like sets dollars down. He just sets dollars down like in succession. You're just like,
he
ooh, piece
walked
of
up
money.
to me,
Ooh, piece of money.
a few $100 bills in front of me, and
that's
he
not
could have
good.
chosen between this or a Makoto Figma, and chose this.
I've had that Makoto Figma well before I was your Patreon, and once I have more money, I will be throwing more money at you again. And this time I'll force you to play Escape from Tarkov, and then you can understand my frustration. Oh yeah, that game that I bought you that you haven't installed yet. Yeah.
I don't have the time. I literally, I had like a couple of hours to myself last night, and I finally finished Thief 2. I've been playing that game for the length of a month, and it's not that long of a game. It's like 12 hours. I barely just finished it.
So if you're done,
yeah, go
ahead. Phoenix, I've got some minor shilling to do. First of all, join the Discord here. You don't have to pay $1 to join this Discord. You do have to put up with some hazing though initially.
Yeah, as Celtic Phoenix learned right away.
RWBY Operator will be coming off a hiatus. I've got the current chapter is almost done. I need to finish it out and then edit it, which will be an absolute nightmare because I can't edit if my life depends on it. And I may or may not be writing smut. So
may or may not.
May or
High
may
power.
Don't bullshit us. He failed to convince media to write another version of Just Act Casually, so now he's got to do it himself.
Yeah, he's just like, operate me harder.
Oh no. Well, it's a pleasure, y'all, and I look forward to seeing y'all again next episode, or joining us on the Discord and shitposting. That's great.
Oh, you definitely need. We need more memes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Adios.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Y'all have a good night.
Special.
Catch you all on the flip side.